What's up, YouTube? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today's video is going to be all about car titles. Now, we're going to go in depth and give you a great explanation on each single one. Plus, we're going to give you three different perspectives. One as a consumer, one as a dealer, and next one as a bank. So this is probably going to be the most in-depth car title video on YouTube. So for that matter, if you could please do me a favor and gently squeeze the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It helps me find more amazing people like yourselves that enjoy automotive content. Also, if you consider subscribing, I post 3 videos a week. So make sure you click the notification bell so you'll be notified of all of our videos. Once again, follow us on Instagram at automotive.life. We post great stuff there all the time, giveaways, all that other stuff. So make sure you follow us there. And without any more shameless plugging, let's get into the video. Car titles is a very confusing subject. I get a lot of questions, a lot of emails, and then I started watching some of the videos on YouTube, and they were giving out just awful, horrendous information. So I figured I would go ahead and give you guys an explanation on a lot of the titles and explain how they work and some of the things that come along with them. So first thing we're going to start off with, which everybody knows, is a salvage title. Now, what does a salvage title mean? That means that basically somewhere along the lines, your car was totaled out from an insurance company. Now, usually what happens is once they do an insurance payout, they go ahead and give it a salvage title. Now, that doesn't make it extraordinarily bad, doesn't make it good. It just means that it's been totaled out by the insurance company. Now, if you do get your car totaled out by the insurance company, you have the obligation to purchase it back from the insurance company before it goes to the auction. A lot of people don't know this, but it is a law. So if you have, let's say, a very nice custom car or a classic car or something like that, and they total it out for $7 grand, you can call them up and say, hey, look, you guys totaled out my car. I think it's worth a lot more. Instead of fighting about the dollar amounts, say, okay, well, I'll buy it from you for $1,000 and you just give me a check for $6. Most times they will do that, but they'll ask you for the title and they'll issue it as salvaged. Now, we have salvage, flood, theft, and fire. All three of these basically mean the same thing, that it is salvaged. Now, depending on your state and city regulations, you cannot register a salvage car. It needs to be converted into a rebuilt title. Now, there's going to be certain steps for every state. You're going to have to do a physical inspection. You're going to have to show receipts for repairs. Some request pictures, things like that, or you get it from a licensed shop. We sign off on a certificate and you can go ahead and get your rebuilt title. Now, the next one is rebuilt title. Rebuilt title means it was previously salvaged, like we just talked about, but you went through the inspections and you got it done. Now, with a rebuilt title, you can register it, you can put it on the road, and some insurance companies will insure an actual rebuilt title. No insurance companies will insure a salvage title. So make sure that even if you get a salvage title and you want to drive it around and everything else, your insurance company will not cover it because that car is illegal to drive on the road. You need to convert it to a rebuilt title. I don't care what your friends say, well, I'm just going to do this, I'm going to just drive it around and with a bill of sale. Don't do it. Just convert it to a rebuilt title. It's not that hard, and then you can actually register it, insure it, and then even in some cases, these cars are financeable when it comes to rebuilt. So I'm going to put a little plus. All these cars you see up here with any of these titles, salvage, rebuilt, flood, theft, anything, or excuse me, salvage, flood, theft, or fire, these are non-financeable. So I'm just going to put an NF, non-financeable. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the next ones, which a lot of people get screwed up as a dealer. And I'm telling you this, if you guys are newbies, you need to stop when you go to the auction, especially Iaai and Copart, and learn what the titles mean, because I see a lot of people buy cars that don't know any better. So first we're going to go over is a junk title. A junk title means it's junk. You cannot register it. I don't care how smart you think you are and you know people in the DMV, you cannot transfer a junk title into there. And if you do, which I've seen it happen one time, they actually caught it when they went to re-register it and they kicked it out and they ended up losing their car. So junk title, parts title, destruction of title, and export only. These ones are exactly what they mentioned. They are just junk parts or they need to get shipped out of the country. A lot of people at Copart and Iaai, a lot of the newbies, they see a car and it's not that bad. They're like, wow, it's a 2021 Silverado. It's only got the bed smashed up a little bit. I'm going to buy it. but they didn't pay attention to the small print and it said junk title. You know, for some reason, some states and some insurance companies give it different explanations. So even though the accident is not that bad, they will issue one of these titles. And I've seen so many green peas and suckers that go out and buy these things like, wow, I made a big come up. I bought a $70,000 truck for 20 grand. They didn't realize that it was a junk title, parts, destruction title, or export only. Now, you know, if you do buy these, there's no way you can change it. You can try to, you know, I've had friends try to do a lien on it and try to wash the title going from state to state. That stuff doesn't work. Once it's this, don't even mess with it. I one time bought a Lamborghini Gallardo years ago for about 25 grand. It had an export title only. The car ran and drove fine. So we were bored, so like, hey, let's just buy it for fun and drive it around the dealership. So I threw my dealer plate on it, drove it around Vegas for a little bit, and then I ended up selling it to somebody in California. And I even told him, you cannot transfer a title over. He didn't care. He's like, I have friends in different DMVs. I get it done. I was like, all right, buddy, here you go. Sold him the car, and I'm sure that thing's still got an export-only title as of right now. So, and also all these titles right here are what's called non-financeable. So we'll do the NF here. Also, if you are a dealership and you are buying these with your lines of credit, they will give you a very, very short leash because they know this is as good as junk and parts. So they may call you back on your loan. So I've seen it where they've bought, one guy bought a Ferrari. It was like wrecked. It was like a 488 wrecked in the back end. They bought it for like 110K. You know, it wasn't even that bad, but as soon as the line of credit found out about it, they called in their loan and they had to hurry up and scrounge up 100K to pay the thing off. So you don't want to put these on your flooring line because sometimes, unless it's written in there, they do not like these particular types of vehicles because the collateralization is just not there. Now, we're going to talk about lost title a little bit later. I'm going to save that one for the end. Next one we're going to be talking about is a lemon law title. What is a lemon law? So when you buy a new car, if you've taken it in the dealership for several times, depending on whatever state you're in, you could take it in for the same reason 3 times. You could have multiple issues, or if it's been in the shop for over 30 days, you qualify to go list it as a lemon law. What that means is the dealership, the franchise, has to purchase the vehicle back from you, and you get your money back. It's not that big of a deal. I've seen it happen a lot, and this is only for brand new cars. For all these people that think they know everything, there is nothing in the market as a used car. So if you buy a car that's 1 year old from a dealer, I don't care if it's a franchise store, if it's 1 year old, it's not brand new, this lemon law does not count for it. So you can go ahead and try to sue everybody over your $2,000 Honda Civic, and they still will not give you any type of lemon law protection. It's only for the new cars. Now, when you get a lemon law car, it is not salvaged, it is not rebuilt, it's just a brand. So once they put this on here, it's not that big of a deal. Plus, you could still finance the car. So I put the little plus here. With a lemon law title, you can still finance it. Now, we used to get these cars extremely cheap back in the day, but nowadays they're so overpriced and so crazy at the auction, there's no point in paying the extra money to get a car that has a lemon law. Now, some of these cars are not that bad. I bought in cars where the people complained about the weather stripping and they took it in 3 times and the door was whistling. And I drove it and it was fine. But you'll get other ones where they'll have electrical gremlins or nightmares. So when you do this, make sure you pull up the auto check and Carfax and see exactly what's listed, because it'll tell you, hey, this car was taken in for X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z was replaced, blah, blah, blah. And if it has a bunch of electrical components, don't touch it, because more than likely you're going to be driving that thing, your dash is going to flash, and it's just going to shut off on you. So be very careful with lemon law vehicles. The next one we're going to talk about is washed titles. Now, we talked about salvage, rebuilt, flood, and then we also talked about how to actually convert it over to a rebuilt title. Now, some states, and this is getting more rare because the DMV talks to each other now, a lot of people do what's called washing titles. I don't recommend doing it, and if you do buy a car, make sure you run a Carfax. Even though they hand you a title that's clean, it could be a washed title. So, let's say you buy a salvage car in Georgia. You rebuild it, you get everything done, and then you ship it out here to Las Vegas. Sometimes in the transition from one state to another state, they don't recognize the rebuilt title. So when a new title gets issued for, let's say, from Georgia to Florida or Vegas, it gets issued a new title, which is clean. That does not make it a clean vehicle. It just means that at that time, there is an actual clean title on it. Now, there are people out there that do this on purpose to intentionally defraud people. So it's very important. If you're buying anything expensive or rare or whatever else, you need to run a auto check and a Carfax on it. I always recommend running both if you're making a very large purchase, because each one will have different information. So this way you could see if it's actually been, the title's been washed. Now, sometimes this just happens just out of luck. I've bought in cars from different states. I bought a few salvage trucks from Texas to bring up here for parts. Once I got them here, the titles were clean. So we're just like, okay, we just basically picked them back up and took them to the auction so we could sell them and get rid of them, because I don't want to mess with the you know, it was clean, now it's salvaged, anything else like that. But you'll see a lot of people say that, you know, oh, I have a clean title, but it could be washed. So make sure you check that. The next one is a lien packet. Now this one is going to go back to a lost title. So I'm going to explain what a lien packet is and how it all works, and it goes with your lost title. So a lien packet is basically what you get from either a storage facility, a tow yard, or a mechanic's lien. These are all things that they basically put on the car to protect themselves from loss. So if you take your car into an auto repair shop and you rack up a $1,000 bill and you don't want to pay the mechanic has the right in the law to go ahead and file a lien against your vehicle. Now, once they file that lien, this gives them secured interest in the vehicle, and they have two options. Either the bank comes and pays them off if the bank is financing it, or if it's not financed, they file the paperwork and they get what's called a lien packet. After that, they're able to sell your vehicle to whoever wants it. So these things are very important. And also, when you're an auto repair shop, this is why you want to be licensed correctly and licensed through the DMV. So you can have opportunities like this, because you got to remember the economy is getting really bad. Things are going to start going to shit here soon. So you want to have your lien packet stuff set up. So this way, once your customers start trying to screw you with leaving cars there, you know, you can do that. And as long as you have a signed invoice, you can charge them for storage, for repairs, whatever else. Now, lien packets, same thing goes for storage companies. If you leave a vehicle at like a U-Haul storage facility and they don't pick it up, they can lien your vehicle, as well as tow yards and stuff like that. Now, in some states, I've only heard very few, but in some states, you can file for a lien under a private party. So like if you have a roommate and he just disappears and leaves a car in your driveway, you can get that, but you could file a lien, but it's a lot trickier, it's a lot of headaches, and most places won't do it. So you just have to check with your city. I don't know what cities and states do it, but I have heard of it done. Now, we're gonna go back to lost title. A lot of people think that, you know, you can just file for a lost title and it's super easy and you get it these ways. A lot of times, if you're a shop, you can buy a truck with a lost title, you could file a lien against it, as long as you get a copy of his ID and you make him sign a work invoice. Also, when you go with lost titles, you need to file for the last ownership. So if you get a car on Craigslist or Facebook that has no title, you ask the customer, hey, you know what? It takes 5 minutes. Why don't you come to the DMV with me? We'll sit down and we can do a lost title transfer, and they can just transfer it from one person to the other. I've done that lots of times, because if they're coming from another state, let's say, like Vegas is a very transient city. We get people that move here from all these countries, all these states, and they lose sometimes their titles. So if they show up and they're like, oh, I'm from Minnesota, it's very hard, I physically got to mail something in, I'll go to the DMV, make them do a notarized bill of sale, and we'll sit there at the DMV, and most DMVs can transfer it from one person to the other person. You won't have a title, but they'll just transfer it directly. That's something that can protect yourself if you get a lost title. Now, if you bought a car that's been sold by 13 different people and you have no idea what it is, you know, then you're pretty much screwed. You can't file for a lost title, because the lost title has to be filed by the last registered owner. And if you don't know who the last registered owner is, good luck. And there's a lot of people that will charge you money, $200, $300 to help you find the title and stuff like that. But even if they find out that, hey, Mr. Bob Smith owned this car, and Bob Smith could be dead, Bob Smith could be in jail, Bob Smith could be living in a different state. So if he doesn't sign a notarized bill of sale, doesn't do you any good. So it's very hard when you get lost titles. So if you are planning on getting a lost title, you can go ahead and try to do a lien packet. Now, the second thing is, which we're going to go up to here, which is bonded title. Now, this is getting harder and harder to do because there's so much fraud with bonded titles. So what this is you are basically paying the DMV saying that, hey, this car is clean, I got it with no title, but I'm going to go ahead and insure it against somebody coming up in the future and trying to get my car. So bonded title means you don't really physically get a title. You can just register the car and everything else. But if anybody at any time comes up and shows proof of ownership, you forfeit that car. And I've seen this happen a few times. Now, but bonded titles, like I said, are very hard, very complicated. A lot of states don't even do them anymore, so it's very, very rare. I don't even know the states that still do them. I'm sure there's a few out there, but those things don't exist. I see people putting stuff in comments all the time, bonded title's the way to go. Hey, if your state's got it and it's very easy and there's a DMV clerk that can do it, go for it. But if there's no DMV service offering you this type of benefit, don't even mess with it. Just, you're better off if you bought a classic car and it doesn't have a title, pay a tow company, lien it, wind up getting the title in like 30 to 60 days, and then you'll be good to go. Now, the last one we're going to talk about is import display. Oh, I forgot. On the lien packet and bonded title and lost title. Lien packets, they know you actually own ownership, so you can finance a car. So if you buy a car from a tow yard and you want to, once you get it and you want to take it to a bank and finance it, you can actually take the lien paperwork to your bank and finance that vehicle. Lost titles, if you bought a car with no title, it is non-financeable. I've seen a lot of people trying to get loans for cars that don't even have titles. Bonded titles, I'm pretty much going to have to go with non-financeable because there's no way to collateralize their loan, because at any time the original owner can come back and pick up the vehicle. Now, next one, and last one we're going to talk about is import display. This is a very, very rare type of title. Now, this title is held for vehicles that are, one, extremely rare, two, do not meet safety requirements of the United States or Canada, and for specific vehicles. So what I mean by this is, like, if you bought maybe a used show car from Japan, so if you're trying to import Skylines, that doesn't work. That's not unique, that's not rare, whatever else. If you get one-of-a-kind concept car, or you buy one-of-a-kind Ferrari race car, stuff like that, you can apply for an import display title, and they will let you import the car in the United States, and then you can get a display title where you can actually, license it and insure it and register it here in the United States. And you're limited to so many miles that you can use the vehicle for. So, but that's one of the cool things, like I said. So if you do get something really rare, exotic, classic car, something that's just out of the norm, you could try to apply for an import display. Now, this is going to cost a lot of money. The last one I've seen done was for a Ferrari race car, and I think the guy with everything spent about $20,000 to get the title. So it is not cheap, but there is options there. So here's a little bit of information about the car titles and everything else. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section below. Like I said, I answer every single one. So if you have questions on any of these car titles or car stuff in general, financing, whatever else, make sure you do. If you need more information, I do consulting calls. The link in the description below. I also have our Facebook group. We're posting stuff there daily now. I'm just kind of getting it back up. Our last one somehow was canceled, so we had to restart up, so we lost about 3,000 members. I think we're at like 100 members now, but we'll get back up there. So go ahead and join the group. If you have any questions, once again, put them in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys could do me a favor and gently squeeze the like button for the YouTube algorithm, I truly appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to us, and once again, follow us on Instagram at automotive.life, and we'll see you next video.